In this video, we're going to take a look at human skin. Now, one thing to note about this skin model is that it's divided into three sections. This section over here shows the scalp, the middle section of the model shows an armpit, and then the last section over here shows the sole of the foot. And we know this comes from the sole of the foot because it's thick skin. We can see the top layer is very thick. So let's start with the two layers that form the integument or skin. The upper layer we can see here is called the epidermis. Epi means upon, dermis means skin. So this layer sits upon the skin. In other words, it's the top layer. And in thick skin, we can see our 5 layers that we discussed in lecture. Our stratum corneum, stratum lucidum, stratum granulosum, stratum spinosum, and stratum basale. Lower down in this region, we find our second layer of the skin, which is called the dermis. Dermis comes from a Greek word derma, which means leather or hide, in other words, referring to the skin. And we can see the 2 layers that we discussed in lecture. Up top, we have our papillary layer because it's forming these little nipple-shaped structures, the dermal papilla. And lower down, we have the reticular layer. Now, sitting below the skin, we have the subcutaneous tissue or hypodermis. The hypodermis or subcutaneous tissue isn't really a layer of the skin, but it does help attach the skin to structures lower down. Let's look at some of the glands that we can see on this model. In the armpit region, we have this very large gland here. This is an apocrine sweat gland. Apocrine sweat glands in humans don't really do evaporative cooling, as their name would imply. Instead, they create an oily secretion that travels up to the surface of the skin. Up there, bacteria use that secretion and essentially produce body odor. Why we have these glands and what their exact purpose is, we don't really know. Our second type of gland, which we can see in any panel, are these little white glands here. These are the eccrine sweat glands. Eccrine sweat glands do actually produce sweat, which is fluid used for evaporative cooling. The last gland we're going to point out are these glands here associated with the hair follicles. These are sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands make an oily secretion called sebum that essentially lubricates the skin surface and helps the skin and hair from drying out.